Credit can either be a tool that you can use to your advantage, or it can be a tool that can hurt you and hold you back. So I want to talk about how you can get your credit score up. How I was able to get my credit score from the mid 600s to over 800. But before we jump into the video, make sure you go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That way you get updated whenever I come out with new videos. So let's jump into the video. So how I was able to get my credit score to an 800. Now I know you may be thinking you don't have a credit score if you're trying to develop a credit score, or your credit is just terrible. Trust me, I had it all. I've had debt that wasn't paid just because I was stupid and didn't pay it, or just, quite frankly, didn't have the money. I've co-signed with debt and the person that co-signed didn't pay the actual bill, so that caused even more negative marks on my credit score. It can be a very powerful thing if you use it correctly. Take care of your credit score. You can definitely use it to leverage. You're an investor and you want to invest in things. You can definitely get better rates by having a better favorable credit score. Because interest can go, even just small percentages when you're doing stuff like that, interest can go a long way. So let's jump into some steps you can take to start repairing your credit score. All right, so number one, the first thing you want to do, pull a credit report. Now there's a lot of free sites where you can go and pull your credit score. I mean, you can go to freecreditreport.com. If you pulled your credit score within the amount of range of time, if you get denied for anything, they always will send you an option to get a free credit report. There's a lot of options out there for you to go pull your credit report. So just do a Google search, free credit report, or you can just do a paid credit report. They're not that much to pull it, because you want to get a full report of everything that's on your credit. Next thing you want to do, step number two, is you want to check, once you get that report, is you want to check for any negative marks on your credit, whether it's missed payments, whether there's outstanding or bad debt that's on your credit report. You want to make sure that everything that's negative on there is, one, that it hasn't been over there for more than 7 years. You want to make sure that it's actually debt or stuff that you actually signed up for. It's not wrong information on there. You just want to see all the negative marks that are on there. So take note of that, highlight them. We're going to come back to that of what to do with the negative remarks on your credit score. Next thing I did was I educated myself on how credit works. So, you have a certain percentage of how your credit is made up. And I mean, you can use something, as simple as an app. I like to use, if you want to get educated on, I like to use one of the free monitoring apps, and there's quite a few of them out there. One that I like to use is an app called Credit Karma. And Credit Karma does a good job of breaking down the areas of your credit. You can also use a service called mint.com. I've used that in the past as well. And that will show you basically just the overall view of how your credit is broken down, how your credit is scored, and just give you details of how that works. Basically the breakdown of how it's going to work, there's going to be your payment history, which is going to carry the most weight on your credit, which is going to have the highest impact. Credit utilization is basically going to be the amount of credit that you have utilized. Say, for example, if you have a total of your credit card accounts, say if you have a total balance of $10,000 between all your credit cards, say you had 2 or 3 credit cards, and your utilization, you want to try to keep that below at all times, 30% at max. I like to fall somewhere between the 20-25% range if I do have anything utilized, and that's just from month to month. Then I pay it off at the end of the month. But if your credit, say you have a $10,000 balance, and your credit, if you're maxed out on that balance every single month and you're paying the minimum and you're carrying a balance over and over and over, that does not look good on your credit report. So that actually hurts your credit. So if you're going to carry credit cards, first of all, you got to be responsible enough. If you're maxed out, then that means you're probably not pretty responsible with them. You want to make sure that you get responsible with those, but you want to make sure you keep that utilization down. So just put like small charges on there, like gas or something like that, or just like Netflix, something small that's recurring that helps with your credit utilization. Next thing is any derogatory remarks. You want to make sure that you don't have any, like I said, we just checked the negative balances, negative marks on your credit, late payments, balance, any liens, any judgments, any bankruptcies. Any of those things against your account, that's all affect your credit score. Next thing is you want to look at is the age of your credit card. So even if you have like some credit cards or credit accounts that are on your account that are pretty old, If they're paid off, then I recommend just leaving those on there, because your credit history is going to have an effect on your actual score. So you want to make sure that that range is typically a good range is between 6 to 7 years of the average credit history. So say for example, if you're buying something new and you're putting it on your credit card, for instance, any new account that you open up, that's going to affect your average of the average history of your credit card. So if you have older ones, even if you're not using them, try to keep that on there, because if you remove the old accounts, then that's going to drop down the age of your credit history. I know for me, when I was paying off my dad, a lot of the history, because I didn't have credit cards because I was just terrible with them, so I just stopped doing them. But all my history came from student loans. Now, if you have student loans, just pay them off. Just deal with it, because that's what I did. Definitely knocked down the length of my credit history, but hey, you don't want to be paying interest on those loans. And the next thing is the amount of accounts you have open and the amount of credit inquiries. So inquiries is how much your credit has been ran within a certain amount of period. You want to be somewhere between in the 2 to 3 range. If you're running your credit all the time and they see several inquiries on there, within a short period. So for example, if you go get a loan to buy a house, or you go and you get a lease for a car, or if you go to buy a car. Say for example, anytime your credit is run, like you're buying a house or a car or something like that, they're going to run your credit multiple times. It's going to fly up on there, but all those inquiries only count as if they're all on the same date, or within a certain date range, then it only counts as one. It doesn't hit you all those times that they run if you're trying in a place where you're trying to get the best interest rate. So that doesn't count against you. But still, you don't want to be applying for new credit cards every single month, because that's going to affect your score. Next thing I did was, now that I understood how credit card works, is I created a plan in order to get my credit right. Any bills that you have, you want to make sure that you're making the payments on time, early and on time. Don't be late, because like I said, that's going to have the latest impact on your credit. So make sure that you pay your bills on time. That's going to be the main thing. So do that. Now that you've pulled your credit report, you want to go ahead and set up we talked about earlier, you want to go ahead and set up the credit monitoring app. So what if you set up one through, there's Credit Karma, that's what most banks have them now. My credit card has it as well. So you want to make sure you have some type of monitoring where you're seeing what your score is. You could check your score, whether it be on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, just to see the progress of where your score is going, if it's improving, and where your credit score is at. Next thing you want to do is, if you're young and you have an established credit, can't get a credit card to start setting up or building credit, then you can go, there's options where you can do, there's options for getting a secured credit card. And basically a secured credit card is basically, you go to a bank, most banks will allow you to set this up, is you get a credit card, you put an amount on there, say it's like, $200 to $500, you put that on there, you pay that, they give you a credit card, and you can use that credit card, use it for something small, like just set up like your gas on there, or set up like a Netflix or a Spotify bill on there that's recurring, pay it off each month. And then after you making those on-time payments for a year, that's going to help get your credit score up. But then after a year, you probably can apply for just a lower balance credit card if you wanted to, but you can get your money back from that secured card once that year has lapsed. So just keep a low balance on there, because the goal, and pay it off every month, because the goal is to get your credit score up, not necessarily go out and get your multiple credit cards and ability to do that, because you just want to get your credit score up for primarily purchases in the near or later future, especially big purchases like a house. Next, what you want to do is you want to, since you have your report and you see all the negative remarks, you want to start calling and trying to negotiate and disputing any negative remarks you have in your account. I know with Credit Karma, you can just dispute it right there. So you don't need to go out and buy some credit repair service. If you just don't want to deal with it, then fine. You can go, pay that $100 a month or whatever in order to get it done. But honestly, save yourself the $100 a month, put that in savings or something, save that money, and then just go dispute the charges yourself, especially if there's anything that should be removed from your account that's been over past the elapsed time. If there's things that aren't yours, you can fight those as well to dispute and get those charges off there. And also what you can do is you can start getting the process too. If you have any outstanding or bad debt that's on there where you still owe a balance that's been written off and it's in collections, but it's still showing on your credit report, you can call those companies and start to negotiate paying those off, just negotiate a lower price. But before you pay anything, just make sure that you negotiate and get in writing, get them to say it verbally and written, that once you pay off this debt, then they're going to remove that show as paid and remove that from your credit account. They're not going to report it anymore. So make sure you do that before you send them any money. Next thing you want to do is one, we talked about it. Again, I'm not going to keep talking about it, but this is important. From going forward, from now, starting now, make sure that you're making all payments on time. If you haven't been doing it in the past, make sure you start today with making all your payments on time, because over a while, your ability, your score to make payments on time, even if you miss 1 or 2 payments, like that can have a negative impact, a tremendous impact on your credit score. So make sure you don't miss any payments. Start making all your payments on time. Now that you have your security card, or if you already have credit cards, make sure that you're watching your utilization. Make sure you're keeping it under 30% each month. You're paying those off, paying that bill off every single month to help get your credit score up. The next thing is make sure that you limit any credit inquiries. Don't be getting any new credit cards or anything adding on there, especially if that number is really high. Don't be adding stuff on there, because like I said, the goal is to not get more credit cards or get a bigger balance to spend more money. The goal is to help to repair your credit and get your credit score up. Next thing we talked about, again, reiterate, don't cancel any old credit cards, again, because you want to use that to help with your credit history. Make sure the balances are paid off and that is at 0. And if you have any annual fees or anything associated with that, make sure you're taking care of that, but leave those credit cards open. Next thing you should start doing is if you have debt, you have credit card debt, student loan debt or whatever, start paying off your debt. That's going to help with starting to get that credit score down. It may be like a small tick, or it may take a small step back at first once you pay off, but I think it's always a good thing to start paying off your debt, because this is going to help in the long run for when you're ready to use that credit to actually, get things like investment properties or buy real estate to help get lower interest rates. Having that debt paid off is going to help in that process as well, because when they do pull your credit score, they'll be able to see they're going to measure your debt to income ratio as well. So having the more debt you can have paid off, the better that's going to be as well. So I just always encourage to knock off your debt. That way you can start having money work for you. And then the last thing, this is a mistake that I made. Never, ever, ever co-sign for a loan. I don't care who it's for, just don't do it. You got to protect your credit. Take the lesson from me. I've learned the hard way with that. Never will do it again. Don't co-sign for a loan. If someone needs to get some and there's a reason why, there's definitely a reason they need a co-signer. If they ask you, either they don't have enough credit established or they're just terrible with credit, managing their money. So don't co-sign. If they need your help, the best thing you can do is send them to this video or a video like this in order to get their credit right so they can get whatever they're trying to buy in order to establish credit. But anyway, those were the steps that I took in order. That's how I was able to get my credit score from the mid 640s up into the 800s by following the steps that I talked about on here. Again, just make sure that you follow these steps and just keep on monitoring over. Like I said, this took me about this is about a year and a half, almost 2-year process in order to get from the mid 640s to the 800s. Now it jumped to from about the mid 640s to about the 700s in about the 6 to 8 month range, and I still have some more work in order to get it cleaned up. With getting things removed, with making sure that I'm making payments, paying off my debt, staying on top, keeping my utilization down, things like that help to get the credit score up. So now it's set up. So now I'm in a good position. Primarily what I wanted to do in order to get my credit score up is primarily for my investing into real estate. I wanted to get my score at a good spot so I can get the best loans out there possible for when I do start my real estate investing and buying more properties and just buying properties for myself as well. But that's primarily my main goal in order to be able to utilize credit in order to get, you know, the best rates and loans out there available. And I wanted to just have my score up, like I say. And I think just primarily just as a responsible adult, I think it's good just to have, you know, the best possible credit score as possible. And like, you know, you hear all these things with you have to go, you know, spend a ton of money and borrow all this money in order to get your score up. You don't. You know, I got two small credit cards that I have, and I just charge all my reoccurring bills on that, and then I just pay the balance off every month. If we travel, I'll buy them on that, pay them off right away. But I just use that in order, one, to get the points, but also to help build my credit up as well and keep my credit score up. Because even though I had like student loans in the past or like car payments in the past, it didn't help with getting the credit cards up. The credit cards, for some reason, I don't know, they've had the best impact on my credit. Again, if you found this information helpful, definitely go ahead and smash that like button, share with anyone you think it may be helpful. Again, as always, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy on YouTube sharing his financial journey, trying to share with you guys in order to encourage others to, you know, get their finances and help to create generational changes, change their family tree, change their family wealth. That's why I'm here to change this information. Again, always go do your own research, but I just wanted to give you guys some tips and advice that I've used in order to get my credit score from mid 640s all the way up to the 800s. Anyway, hope you guys have a great one. I'll see you all on the next video.